Coming shortly on Art Rocks, impressions of Louisiana seen through early settlers' eyes.
Many of these artists really are wonderful painters, and I think what's wonderful about them is that they are adapting techniques they've learned elsewhere in very different kinds of landscapes to Louisiana.
Putting theatrics on ice.
When I look over and see the person that I'm skating with have so much fun, it makes me want to have fun, and like smiles are infectious. So when you see someone else smiling and singing the words, you start to smile and sing the words.
A home fit for John D. Rockefeller.
He was passionate about art, a great collector of the arts. By that he meant he was going to study the environment, find where the best location for each of his outdoor pieces would be.
And putting the spice into sugar and spice.
I kind of go with the flavors that I really like curries and particularly herbs.
All that up next on Art Rocks.
Art Rocks is made possible by the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting and by viewers like you.
Hello, thank you for joining us for Art Rocks with me, James Fox Smith, publisher of Country Roads magazine. It's difficult to drive around Louisiana without being struck by its ethereal waterways, primeval forests, and teeming abundance of flora and fauna. If you think our state is striking now, though, imagine the impression it made when the first European and South American visitors arrived more than 300 years ago. Well, you don't actually have to imagine that. The New Orleans Museum of Art's exhibit Inventing Acadia, Painting in Place, featured many of the earliest paintings made in the state. Curator Katie Pfohl guides us through the works and the artists who made them.
Inventing Acadia, Painting in Place in Louisiana is the first big exhibition of Louisiana landscape painting in almost 40 years. And it's bringing together artwork from collections all across the country that include artists working in Europe, the broader United States, Latin America, as well as Louisiana, to reflect on the unique culture and ecology and landscape of this place, and really in many ways to look at how the history of landscape art set the stage for both the possibilities as well as some of the issues and questions we're asking today about Louisiana. The earliest thing in the show is the early 1800s, and the most recent thing in the exhibition is around the turn of the century. So the exhibition really follows 19th century Louisiana landscape art, from some of the first painters who came to Louisiana all the way up through more contemporary work. Many of the painters who came here were used to working in the forests of Fontainebleau in France, in these dense forested environments, or they were used to working in the mountains and lakes of the Hudson River Valley, and they came here and encountered this flat, swampy delta landscape liable to floods and all sorts of other questions and issues. And so as a result of that, the painters ended up having to sort of remake the ideas about landscape painting from within. If you're used to painting a forest with hills and valleys and lush mountains, and you come to this flat delta, you have to sort of reimagine what landscape is from the very beginning. There's no single point of view or perspective. There's no clear way, according to ideas about composition, to really paint this place. And so that was both an aesthetic problem or question, how do you make a painting of this watery landscape, but also a political one, thinking about how we relate to the landscape, whether you try and make it look like France or New England, or whether you try and treat it as what it is. Many of these artists really are wonderful painters, and I think what's wonderful about them is that they are adapting techniques they've learned elsewhere in very different kinds of landscapes to Louisiana. But there's some that stand out, like Richard Clegg, who is this painter from France who painted a lot of the kind of batture and flood areas of the city. Others like Joseph Rusli Meeker, who made these visions of the swamp based on Henry Wadsworth Longfellow's poem Evangeline. I have a number of favorite works in the exhibition. One of them is a painting by this very early Louisiana artist, Toussaint Francois Bigot. He was a river captain who made this very early painting of Louisiana that appears on the banner in front of the museum as well as the frontispiece to the exhibition. And he created this painting of the Atchafalaya Basin, one of the largest wetland swamps in the world, in the 1850s, that shows this scene in the aftermath of a hurricane where you see all of this flooded land, all of these felled trees, all these different waterways that are merging and colliding, and also all of these indigenous people who are kind of positioned at the foreground of the canvas, I think as a way to demonstrate a very different way of living with this land than that was often proposed by the European colonists. So really showing the sort of danger of this place, but also presenting this vision for how we might live alongside land and water, which I think was really quite prescient. One of the things that I find fascinating about that work is that the artist included no less than 7 examples of indigenous basketry from the region in that painting, I think is a way to point towards the art and culture that was already in Louisiana at the time that Europeans were coming. And then 2, to me, of the most exceptional works in the exhibition, although it's a painting show, are sculptors. We tracked down this incredible work by this female sculptor, Harriet Hosmer, who created this incredible sculpture of Medusa after she traveled from St. Louis to New Orleans. The next work I would cite is this work by a sculptor, Edmonia Lewis, called The Marriage of Hiawatha. This is a work that Edmonia Lewis showed at the 1884 World's Cotton Centennial exhibition, and a sculpture that, like many of the paintings in the exhibition, was inspired by the poetry of Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. She based this sculpture not off of Evangeline, A Tale of Acadia, the one set in Louisiana, but rather The Marriage of Hiawatha, in which this true love between 2 people and the marriage of these 2 people unites 2 warring indigenous nations in a new union. And she presented this as one of the first art exhibitions by African Americans that existed in Louisiana. This was alongside works by artists from Haiti and works by African American artists from all across the country, and presented this vision of unity and coming together at a time when Louisiana was still very fractured as a result of the Civil War. And the third painting that I would mention is a work that's not by a Louisiana artist at all, and not of Louisiana either. We were very lucky to be able to borrow a painting by the artist Theodore Rousseau that shows the swamps in Landes, which is a flooded, swampy region of southwest France. And Theodore Rousseau was one of the first painters who we would really consider what we call a kind of environmentalist. He campaigned for the preservation of the forests in the French Barbizon, and in the 1840s took a trip to the swamps of France and made a series of paintings of that place that tried to show that swamps and flooded landscapes could be beautiful. In the 1840s, as well as really throughout the 19th century, swamps were seen as these muddy, dirty places that shouldn't be treated as places to live, much less places to be celebrated as beautiful. And Rousseau instead created these paintings that really showed the way that swamps could be thought of as places of beauty and celebrated for what they were, rather than, as was the common knowledge at the time, be drained and filled and made into productive farmland. One of the other, I think, really important and quite beautiful things in the exhibition is a selection of some of the most beautiful indigenous American basketry that I think I've seen from indigenous nations all across the region, especially the Chirimacha, Cushada, and Arakapa Ishak people. But those were also, in fact, made in that time frame between about 1850 to 1900. I think in many ways the culture developed around its history and the way people related to land. And so you sort of see this transformation from some of the earliest artists and painters that came here who were painting these sort of wildernesses of swamps and delta landscapes and bayous to the beginnings of people beginning to build shelters and habitations on this landscape. And then, of course, as you kind of move further into the exhibition, you start to see the development of plantations and plantation economies and begin to have to grapple with a lot of those histories as well, thinking about histories of enslavement and the labor systems that produced this land and the sort of strange ways in which Louisiana was thinking about what it was as a place. There's several works in the exhibition that are what we call allegories for Louisiana, with titles like Mother Louisiana or Spirit of Louisiana, where painters are trying to figure out how you would encapsulate the cultural identity of this place. And oftentimes they're relying on certain ideas that have been inherited from other places, representing, for instance, Louisiana as this kind of archetype of ancient Greece and Rome, rather than what it really truly was, which is of course this place where you have European, American, African, as well as indigenous American people who are all together and negotiating a very complicated political situation. So I think, in many ways, right, you see Louisiana becoming settled, turning into the place that we see it as today, moving from wilderness to settled land, and in that process, sort of constantly negotiating or renegotiating what its culture was and how it was going to be understood. NOMA already has a collection of Louisiana landscape art that has been on view in an upstairs gallery for a number of years, and so we included a number of pieces the museum already has in the exhibition, trying to shed some new light based on some of the researchers and scholars that worked on the show, thinking in new ways about those landscapes and their meaning and importance. But we also do hope to continue to acquire in this area. I think one of the things that this exhibition has hopefully made really clear is that these landscape paintings have been in fact very undervalued and not as recognized within the broader American art tradition. So there's been some really wonderful things that have happened as a result of the show. Museums we've worked with who, because we found and borrowed works in their collection, have decided now to put them out on view and things of that kind. So I think a show like this is about pointing out the value of work as much as it is about bringing new light to the scholarship. So that's a big part of our goal in making a show like this.
Although the exhibit Inventing Acadia is no longer on display at NOMA, a handsome companion book containing images of almost every piece in the exhibit is available. Inquire at the NOMA Museum store or visit noma.org/shop. Accomplished artists from near and far are showcasing work in communities near you. So here are some of our picks for notable exhibits coming soon to museums and galleries in your neck of the woods. For more about these and many more events in the arts, subscribe to Arts Monthly, the new free e-newsletter from the editors at LPB and Country Roads magazine. What's more, the Art Rocks website features every episode of this program, so to see or share any episode again, log on to lpb.org and navigate to Art Rocks. We're off to Brighton, Michigan now, where a group of young women are combining creativity with theatrics and unbelievable athleticism to create a competition on ice. Come marvel at the lengths these skaters go to showcase their unique form of expression.
It's pure excitement from skating.
When I'm on the ice, I forget about everything else going on, and I can just be me and have fun and skate and show everybody what I'm made of.
Makes me feel good because I wouldn't be the person that I am today without it.
Showcase is more for the artistic skater, the skater that likes to perform and become a character.
I think I decided to go into Showcase because it's more of a fun outlet and just more entertaining to watch and to perform, and making people laugh and making people feel the sadness that you're trying to portray in some of them and the happiness and all of those different emotions.
When I was little, I just loved acting, and I also found my love of figure skating. So when I heard about Showcase, I was really excited to try it out. You get to show your face more, and just like other than smiling, you can sing your words. But if there is no words, you can show your emotions along with that too.
We have two different events in solo skating and Showcase, and that would be light entertainment and dramatic, whereas light entertainment's more fun and lighthearted and can be silly or funny, and whereas dramatic is more emotional, and you can leave the audience in tears if you do your job. Today we are doing our run-throughs of some of the selected programs where the kids that are skating tonight are going to have the chance to qualify for nationals. We have a very good choreographer here. I don't know how she comes up with things, but she's pretty amazing at it, and I think the skaters really can relate to what she comes up with, and it fits with the music and the character.
My friend, my duet partner, we're just crazy. So our coach decided that we could be monkeys, and our routine is Tarzan. We get to be weird and funny. Makeup kind of brings out that you're a monkey, and then they know what you're doing, so you can just kind of be weird and express yourself through that.
I'm doing my duet. We're nerds, and we're trying to impress a lady that we see in the stands, and we're trying to get her attention and make her our squeaky queen. When I look over and see the person that I'm skating with have so much fun, it makes me want to have fun, and like smiles are infectious. So when you see someone else smiling and singing the words, you start to smile and sing the words more, and it just encourages you to be better.
They do double jumps, they do axles and spins, and I mean, they're just as good of skaters as anybody else. It's just they're performing for the crowd. And you're gonna see a lot of different, double salls, double loops, double flips, jumps that are consistent and will go with the program.
I like to jump, and spinning is always fun. And there's some fun footwork things that are different in every single program that you can really make your own in those moments. So I think footwork and those fancy turns kind of thing that you can just make your own in the moment are my favorite to do.
I'm doing a jump called the double sow, and I'm doing a spin called an illusion.
People think it looks super easy, but then you go out and people can't skate backwards and they realize how hard it is. Me and all the other girls included put in so many hours every day and fall down so many times. And you just have to keep getting back up and keep trying again and just keep practicing all of those different things.
A great showcase skater is someone that has really good skating skills. If they make a mistake, can pull it off anyways and just make it like it was part of the program. Laugh at themselves when they do make a mistake. Entertain, that's huge in showcase skating. We have 5 of the best duets in the country that won last year. They have different routines this year, and some of them are with different partners, but most of them stay together for a while. That's what makes a good team. So you're gonna see some of those duets, and then we have a lot of solos where we have all the way from the preliminary level, which is the lowest level that you can do at National Showcase, all the way to senior.
I put in a lot of work. I skate the whole year coming up to this competition. It's really my favorite competition.
The fun thing about Showcase is it's unique because everyone just loves to be around each other. They want to watch the other programs. They support each other.
I think Showcase is very entertaining. If you're just looking to have a good time and come out and watch it, then come out and watch it. You will never not be entertained from someone doing a Showcase program. You'll go from feeling super happy and laughing to being so emotionally touched by a different program that there's so many different aspects of it that you can feel by coming out and watching Showcase.
With its stunning landscapes and relative proximity to New York City, the Hudson River Valley was an important source of inspiration and subject matter for some of America's most influential painters. In Westchester County stands Kycut, the classical revival-style villa completed for John D. Rockefeller in 1913 and one of the Hudson Valley's great estates. A visit to Kycut offers a chance to see how the business magnate, widely considered the wealthiest American of all time, used art to make his estate complete.
Kykuit is the home to the Rockefeller family. There were 4 generations of family to have lived in this home, and it was considered the family seat for John Davison Rockefeller Sr. The word Kykuit is an Old Dutch word. It means look out or overlook. It is fitting because we are on the top of a hill. We sit 500 feet above sea level. Perfect area for a beautiful home. The house is done in the classical style, and the gardens are gardens that you might find in an Italian villa. The original building of Kykuit was in 1909 when the family moved in. They redid the facade in 1913 with a pediment right below the roof, reminiscent of the ancient Roman temples. Within that pediment sit 2 large figures, one being Apollo, the god of the arts, and the other being Demeter, the goddess of agriculture. And that was a symbol of unity between nature and culture, something that this estate was meant to embody. There were 2 important architects that we had working on this home, one being Ogden Codman, who was responsible for the interiors of this home. William Wells Bosworth created all the gardens that you would see throughout this estate. The ones that surround the house are much more formal, and the further out you go, the further your eye looks, they become more informal and graduate into the landscape. John D. Rockefeller Jr. was the one who put a lot of classical sculpture on the ground. Oceanus is the largest fountain we have on this estate. It was placed here in 1913. It was fashioned after the Oceanus that you would find in the Boboli Gardens in Florence, Italy. Oceanus being the king of the river gods, commanding the seated figures to pour forth water into the oceans. There are 3 figures there, and they represent the rivers of the Old World, the Ganges, the Euphrates, and the Nile. And the reason it was placed in the east looking to the west is because we are going to link the Hudson River, the river of the New World, to the rivers of the Old World. Nelson Aldrich Rockefeller was the grandson of John D. Rockefeller Sr. He resided here as the 3rd generation of family, and what he gave to this estate was sculpture and art. We have 5 art galleries in the downstairs area of this home filled with modern art. We have more than 70 pieces of outdoor sculpture alone, ranging from Henry Moore to Noguchi. He was passionate about art, a great collector of the arts, and he considered himself an environmental artist. And by that he meant he was going to study the environment, find where the best location for each of his outdoor pieces would be, so that sculpture would enhance nature, and in turn nature would enhance that piece of sculpture. Triangular Surface in Space by the artist Max Bill. It is set at the end of the Rose Pergola. It overlooks the Hudson River, and it is as if it's a telescopic view of the Hudson. The inner garden is flanked by 2 sunken gardens. When Nelson lived here, he had exchanged the sunken gardens and he put in sunken swimming pools, which makes the piece that he put in between the 2 pools perfectly situated. Aristide Mayol's bather putting up her hair looks as if she's going to jump into the water, and when Nelson lived here, she could have. Nelson Rockefeller wanted everybody to enjoy what he had enjoyed throughout his life. So he put in his will that when he passed away, this home would be given to the National Trust for Historic Preservation, along with 87 acres surrounding this estate that would be open to the public, and tours would be given to the public by Historic Hudson Valley. Kykuit, the Rockefeller Estate, is open to the public May through mid-November.
Up to Columbus, Ohio now for a visit to the Cocoa Cat Bakery, a family-run business doing beautiful things with chocolate and using some truly unusual flavor combinations.
We are inside the North Market. We've been here for a little over 2.5 months. Coco Cat was born out of the idea that we would be raising money to help spay-neuter cats in and around our community. I love to put really crazy spices and herbs into chocolate, things that you would never ever think go with chocolate. Now these are not your normal ordinary strawberries because they're dipped in white chocolate and dark chocolate, but then they're topped with things like toasted coconut with Jamaican curry. We have fresh rosemary and pistachio on top of dark chocolate, and hibiscus and candied orange chopped up and put onto a dark chocolate strawberry. We also have our ginger, cardamom, lime truffles. I kind of go with the flavors that I really like curries and particularly herbs. So we grow a lot of our herbs on our farm, but then we also have a lot of our spice combinations blended or purchase them directly from North Market Spices here in the market. Everything is very, very, very small batch and very handcrafted, such attention to detail. All the way to our Cocoa Kitty items, like Lego bricks with jelly bellies in them and little emoji poops.
These are the emoji poops, the biggest seller. They are made of solid chocolate. My name is Tosh and I am 9 years old. Well, I told my mom that not all kids like herbs and spices in their chocolate. So they are Lego bricks filled with jelly beans and then just solid chocolate. And these are the Lego bricks.
Columbus is definitely ready for all of these different combinations, and they're willing to try them. And that's the biggest thing. Are you willing to try my reckless abandon and kind of go to the edge of what you really think chocolate could be and should be? A lot of people just want plain chocolate. Well, we don't do that.
You've heard the expression, don't knock it till you've tried it, and we won't. Dark chocolate, peanut butter dipped banana, anyone? So that is it for this edition of Art Rocks. As always, you can see, search and share any episode at lpb.org/artrocks. And if you're wondering what else you might be missing out and about in the Bayou State, Country Roads magazine is a resource for cultural events, ideas and destinations all across Louisiana. With that, I've been James Fox Smith, and thank you for watching.